Vlaakith is not merely a monarch, but a civilization-scale fraud made flesh. The undying Githyanki Lich Queen rules from Tanarath, presents herself as the pinnacle of Gith destiny, and secretly rewards exceptional warriors with ascension that is actually the consumption of their souls to preserve and amplify her own power. She is an ancient wizard of terrifying breadth, capable of wish, time stop, and other high-order magic, and for over a millennium, she has bent Githyanki culture into a machine of militarism, fear, and personal worship. Her regime matters in BG3 because Leia Zell's faith in her is not simple patriotism, it is devotion to a near-divine tyrant built on propaganda, planar empire, and soul predation. From the cold astral tyranny of Vlaakith, we move to the equally cold mind of Withers. In BG3, he appears as an opposing force, ancient, bound to death, and almost entirely untouched by panic. In the game, he calls himself a scribe, a seneschal, a keeper of records, and the lore makes the implication explicit. Withers is revealed as an avatar or manifestation of Jurgle, the old lord of the end of everything, and former god of death before he yielded that office to the Dead Three's line of successors. That is why he treats resurrection, fate, and mortal worth with such eerie calm. He is not a random undead helper, but a being with jurisdictional memory over death itself, which is exactly why the Dead Three's soul-eating Illithid scheme draws his contempt. Lathander, the Morning Lord, is not the god of the sun itself, but of dawn, beginnings, renewal, vitality, and the charged potential of a new day. His symbolism is about the moment when the world can still change. Yet his lore is not soft-edged. He was central to the catastrophic Dawn Cataclysm, an attempt to reshape the pantheon that ended in divine deaths and lasting resentment, proving that even gods of hope can become dangerous when they confuse renewal with the right to reorder reality. In BG3, his presence is material, not abstract. The blood of Lathander and Rosymorn Monastery preserve the memory of a faith that turned Sunrise into weaponized sanctity against undead and fiends. Zariel began as an angel of the seven heavens under Lathander, but prolonged exposure to the Blood War turned righteous fury into militant fixation. She fell, became Archduchess of Avernus, and remade the first layer of hell into a wasteland of relentless war. One of the most important facts about her is that she did not become evil by losing her zeal, but by weaponizing it beyond mercy. In Forgotten Realms lore, Zariel is one of the clearest examples of virtue curdled into fanatic conquest. From dawn, it is a short and brutal step into deliberate darkness, and no deity embodies weaponized social cruelty better than Lolth. Lolth, the queen of spiders and mistress of the demon web pits, is the dominant goddess of the drow and the divine architect of a culture where chaos, treachery, assassination, and paranoia are not pathologies but governing principles. Her genius is that she does not merely rule through fear, she sacralizes instability itself, making ambition, betrayal, and ritual cruelty into religious virtues, which is why drow societies shaped by her become self-devouring hierarchies rather than stable empires. In BG3, every Lolth-sworn drow carries that cosmology with them. For Lolth, faith is not comfort, but an ecosystem of knives. Lolth rules through sacred treachery, but Mephistopheles perfects a more aristocratic form of evil, brilliance without conscience. The Archdevil of Cania, the frozen eighth layer of the Nine Hells, is one of Hell's greatest minds, a master of patient deception and the original inventor and supreme wielder of Hellfire. The contrast at the center of his lore is essential. He presents as elegant, composed, almost princely, yet beneath that surface he is volatile, sadistic, and consumed by ambition against Asmodeus. In BG3, his importance spikes because the crown of Karsus passed into his vaults after Karsus's folly, making him a hoarder of one of the most dangerous artifacts in Realm's history and the infernal patriarch behind Raphael. That infernal world narrows from archdevil grandeur into personal corruption through Mizora, who is what hell looks like when it smiles at you and asks for a signature. She is a Cambion in Zariel's service, part of Zariel's inner circle, and the infernal patron who bound Will by exploiting a crisis in Baldur's Gate, later weaponizing that contract again when Karlach became useful as prey and rival. What makes Mizora interesting is not raw scale but precision. She operates as contract logic personified, turning rescue into debt, duty into ownership, and heroism into administrative infernal leverage. She is the perfect middle manager of damnation. Never the throne, always the chain around the throat. After Mazora's legalistic poison, Malil feels almost impossible. Proof that the realms still reserve divine space for art as a serious metaphysical force. Malil is the lesser deity of song, poetry, eloquence, creativity, and inspiration, but his portfolio is broader than music god suggests. He represents the entire arc of expression from idea to finished form, as if creation itself were a sacred performance. Lore gives him perfect memory for song and the ability to break magical silence with his voice, which is a wonderful detail because it makes art literally stronger than suppression. In BG3's epilogue, Withers retrieving Malil from the fugue plane just to provide music is a small but telling act, Death's old scribe making room for beauty at the end of a war. From Malil, the path rises naturally to Maestra, because in the realms, inspiration and magic are never far apart. Maestra is the goddess of magic and guardian of the weave, the structure that lets mortals touch raw magic without being annihilated by it. Her current role exists because Mistral sacrificed herself to save reality from Karsus's folly, and the later office of Mistra passed through destruction and rebirth again after the time of troubles. Her central drama is that every ambitious mage lives inside her system, whether they revere her or not, which makes her less a distant goddess than the condition for arcane civilization itself. In BG3, that becomes intimate through Gale, whose life is shaped by proximity to her favor, her judgment, and the terrible temptation of Karsite power. And because Mistra's order exists, Raphael's obsession makes perfect sense. He wants the one artifact that once broke that order. Raphael is Mephistopheles' son, a cambion of unusually high rank and power, and his life has been bent around the crown of Karsus ever since his father seized it and locked it away. In BG3, he turns infernal temptation into theater, House of Hope, curated bargains, polished manners, lullabies, and contracts engineered so that the debtor always falls deeper into obligation. What makes him memorable is that he is not merely greedy, he has a coherent imperial fantasy of using Karsus's crown to reorder hell itself, which is exactly the kind of ambition that gets cambions killed by their betters. Selûne the Moon Maiden is the goddess of the moon, moonlight, stars, guidance, seeking, and gentle illumination in darkness. Many mortals literally see the moon as Selûne watching over the world, with the moon's trailing lights interpreted as her tears. More cosmically, she and Shar coalesce together from primordial essence as twin opposites, silver-haired light and raven-haired dark, making their conflict older than nations, older than empires, older than most gods' mortal cults. In BG3, Selûne's importance is not decorative. She is written directly into Shadowheart's origin, the Night Song's truth, and the recovery of a stolen religious identity from Shar's machinery of loss. And that leads exactly where it should, from justice to the power devoted to erasing pain, memory, and truth rather than judging them. Shar, Selûne's twin and counterpart, is the goddess of darkness, night, loss, secrecy, hidden pain, and the desire to forget. She is also the creator of the Shadow Weave, a rival magical order built as an attack on the weave of Mistral and Mistra. That fact is crucial because Shar does not simply oppose light in the visual sense. She opposes continuity, identity, and the kinds of remembrance on which both justice and healing depend. In BG3, she becomes terrifyingly personal through Shadowheart. Shar's greatest weapon is not a blade or spell, but the conversion of memory loss into obedience, turning a living person into a carefully edited religious artifact.